More and more of our lives have become dependent on technology, on internet use case, and mobile devices. So I wanted to share with you guys 5 crucial cybersecurity tips how to stay safe online. It's an essential 5 tips that you can share with your family and loved ones to make sure that they are safe online whilst either browsing the internet or using any technology services. So let's start with tip number 1. So tip number 1 is an online safety tip for cybersecurity is to use strong passwords and keep them unique. This means using different password for each of your online accounts and making sure that your passwords are long, complex, and difficult to guess. You can use a password manager to help you create and store strong passwords. The key point what I wanted to address as well, most of the advice are getting outdated nowadays. Most of the cybersecurity advice used to be that have a password length of at least 8 characters. That is no longer a viable solution for you guys. Just from personal experience, there is a way now where in Amazon Web Services you can launch a virtual machine, which is a GPU powered machine that costs $25 to run for an hour, and you can crack an 8-character password within 8 hours. So my suggestion would be to use a password that's at least 12 characters long. Also, even better solution nowadays would be to move away from using passwords and use a passphrase made up of at least 3 random words, such as, for example, banana, street, house. It's a much longer password, even though it doesn't have a complex characters, but the length exceeds any hacker's attempt to crack that password. Also, another important part of the tip is never save your passwords onto a browser. Instead, use a password manager. It's a cheap and easy way to store all of your passwords. So in that case, you only need to remember one complex password to access your password manager, where you can store all of the rest of your account passwords. Also, wherever possible, set up multi-factor authentication. What do we mean by multi-factor authentication? So multi-factor authentication is we're using more than one factor to access your account. So we're using a password and we're using things like a code from an app, either a message sent on an SMS, or we're using a biometric type of controls to access that account. So that's a tip number 1. Tip number 2 is be careful about what you click on. Don't click on links in emails or on websites unless you are sure they are legitimate. Phishing emails are a common way for cybercriminals to steal your personal information. We often get various amounts of emails in our personal accounts, so if the email sounds too good to be true, it most likely is some type of a scam. Be aware of intimidation, scarcity, baiting, and other types of techniques used in email. So it's a couple of advices. So normally there's a few prominent phishing emails that's flying around. Things like you get an email from that looks like came from your Amazon account to change your password, or something that comes from Microsoft to change your password. Never click on those links. If you believe that potentially the email might be legitimate, instead go to your Microsoft account and reset password while logged in into your account instead of clicking on a link. Always verify the legitimacy of the emails by checking those personal accounts that the emails came from. Instead of clicking on a link, use a Google or any particular search engine to browse the site. So as I say, if you believe that an email came, say, from Microsoft account that asks you to change the password, to change your payment card details or anything like that, instead of clicking on a link on the email, go to your Microsoft account and change the password in the account when you logged in. That's a much safer and easier way to stay safe online. Tip number 3, another very important bit. Whenever we use internet and technology, most likely we use it either on a mobile device or on your laptop. So if you're using a computer such as laptop or stationary computer on your desktop, use a firewall or antivirus software. A firewall can help protect your devices from unauthorized access. An antivirus software can help detect and remove unwanted malware. So most of you are aware that most Windows laptops nowadays come with host firewall already built in. So get familiar how to use it and how to leverage to your advantage to make sure that you can protect your devices from unauthorized access. And then secondly, most of Windows machines also come with pre-installed McAfee antivirus software. Use it. Also, if you don't wish to use McAfee, find another anti-malware solution. There is various number of solutions that come either very cheap or some of them are running free. Something like AVG that install it and use to prevent malware on your machine. Tip number 4, be careful what information you share online. Don't share your personal information such as your social security number or credit card number unless it is absolutely necessary. I would say always verify the need for sharing your personal details. So, again, going back to things like emails, asking to share your personal details, verify with the sender that those details are needed, whether call their customer service, go onto their account on their website and verify that you need to change those details on the site itself instead of sharing via any other means. Avoid emailing your credit card to companies to set up payments. Instead, seek PCI compliant online payment. So what do we mean? PCI is payment card industry. So there is payment card industry set up specific standards how to stay safe online while making online payments. So I've been myself in those situations where I needed to set up a particular payment and I've been emailed from a company to send my credit card details. And I told them explicitly that I will not share my credit card details over email. I would rather use the online payment services and pay for those services, making sure that my details stay safe online. And lastly, tip number 5, back up your data regularly. This way, if your devices are hacked or damaged, you will still have a copy of your most important files. So it's a very important step again. Set up accounts such as, if you're an Apple user, you can set up iCloud. Microsoft has OneDrive, or you can use neutral services such as Dropbox, Box, or any similar service where you can keep a copy of those important files and data. They don't cost an arm and a leg, but it's an important way to keep your important files safe. Also, make sure you set up multi-factor authentication on those accounts to prevent attackers from exfiltrating your data. Also, you can sync those accounts to your devices to generate live file copies. So for example, whenever you create a specific document, you can automatically sync that to your iCloud, to OneDrive, to automatically upload those files to the cloud, making sure you have another copy of those important files. And then additionally, I have a few little tips whilst being safe online. So always use a VPN when you're using a public Wi-Fi. A VPN encrypts your traffic, making it more difficult for hackers to intercept your data. So most public Wi-Fi spots can be susceptible to hacker attacks. So VPN can be a cheap way to protect yourself. VPNs, again, can cost under $10 a month, and it's a great way to keep yourself safe, to prevent your IP address from being exposed, and as well to protect yourself when you're using a public Wi-Fi spot, especially if you're using those for any important tasks. So make yourself safe. Use a VPN. VPN essentially is a virtual private network where you can be used as a software to prevent you and encrypt the traffic, any traffic that travels between the Wi-Fi spot and your computer. And also, the last but not least, be aware of SIM card swapping attacks. What do we mean by those attacks? So threat actors nowadays, what they're trying to do is they're trying to call your mobile service provider to present as yourself and ask for a replacement SIM card. Most of the phone service providers, they will share a code. They will send a code to your phone that needs to be told an operator to issue a replacement SIM. So if you ever receive a code from your mobile phone operator, never share that code with anyone. Be aware that if someone's calling and asking for that code, it's most likely a SIM card swapping attack on yourself. So protect yourself and never share that code. And then lastly, and probably one of the most important bits of information that I want to share with you guys as well, if you are using your card to shop online or any particular purchases that you are making, avoid using debit card. Always use credit card online, because credit card services online protects your personal information, and while we're shopping with credit card, we're using banks' money. So if there's any potential fraud being made on credit card, banks will be liable, and they will have to, you can create a dispute essentially and get your money back. While if somebody gets hold of your debit card details, the money will be lost irreversibly. So for any online purchases, even in-store purchases, as much as possible, use credit card and then fund that credit card through your debit card. Don't ever share debit card details with anyone online. So these are the few tips to be shared to staying safe online. Please share with your family and loved ones to make sure that they stay safe online. And please subscribe to continue watching my videos. Thank you guys.